right, this is my third time. I'm hoping this goes better than the first two times. In any event, my parents, next month will be their 50th, or actually, no, it'll be their 48th. I feel like they should know this. But anyway, 48 years, almost 50. My mom's, she recently turned 70. My dad's going to be 70 in September. And I've had some memorable experiences with them, but I think a lot of it has to do with just the banter that they dished out at each other. And I'm 36 years old, so I've grown up with that, and even with visiting my parents now, I still witness it. So I kind of learned the art of trolling. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but it's basically saying stuff inflammatory to get a rise out of somebody, and I kind of learned that from my dad. He would say things just to get under my mom's skin, and he would say that in front of my brother and I just so he could get, a laugh out of us. So, they've been married for almost 50 years. I've witnessed some of their arguments. But my father wasn't verbally abusive. He wasn't physically abusive. My parents weren't drinkers. They weren't into drugs. They weren't really churchgoers, but there was definitely a sense of morality to them. I think the worst of it just came to involve just that witty back and forth. And my dad would say things like, never get married, whenever they'd have a bit of a falling out where they wouldn't speak for like a week. And, she'd be in the kitchen making dinner and he'd be sitting down at the dinner table with us and he'd just look at me and say, never get married. And she would actually say the same thing like a minute later. So, and then some other stuff that he'd say, later on, I'm pretty sure I was an adult at this point, he would say stuff like, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? I don't know why he said that, but it got a rise out of my mom, so I think that's what he was going for. So he just liked to mess around, and he did a lot of stuff to show that he loved us. And I felt like he was overstepping, especially when I was a teenager or even like a college student. I stayed home with, and I commuted it, so I lived with my parents during those years. And my dad did stuff like filling my car with gas, even though I was perfectly capable of doing it. I was employed, I had disposable income, I knew that I needed to get gas. He would go out and do it, like he'd get up early in the morning before I had to be up, and he'd go to a Turkey Hill and fill it up, and then next thing I know, wow. So it was a little annoying in the sense that you kind of want him to back off and have confidence in you that you can be an adult and you can have a sense of responsibility, but it was just in his nature to do that. When I was living on my own before I met my wife, he had a key to my apartment, and a lot of times he would actually go shopping at a Giant nearby, and he'd stock my fridge, which, as somebody in their 20s, was very barren, just had beer and an occasional Chinese food container and maybe a thing of yogurt. But I guess probably the funniest memory, and it involved my mother too. I was much younger, may have not been a teenager yet, so I could have been 12 or 11, maybe even younger. I had gone up to bed, and my parents were downstairs watching an R-rated movie. And I guess at some point they must have fallen asleep, and I go downstairs to get a drink of water, I guess, and I see a pair of breasts on screen. So this could have been Basic Instinct. This could have been anything. It was during the 90s, really popular R-rated thriller, I'm assuming. So my mom notices that I'm looking at the screen, and my jaw kind of drops, and I'm like, what is that? And my mom's scrambling to get the remote and change the channel, and she manages to, but of course I'm still curious. And my dad, upon waking up, he says, probably the first thing that popped into his head, It was a juicy fruit commercial. So, and I think about my parents, I think about my dad and some of the stuff that he said, and I'm like, does it fit the Father Knows Best theme? He brought a lot of levity to situations, and he really wasn't the most vocal guy. He's very shy, even now, but his delivery sometimes amazes me. And, you know, I hope that both he and my mother live at least another 100 years. I just, you know, I'm not quite ready for that inevitable decline, to lose a parent. I mean, I love them too much. And just like that sense of humor is the one thing among many things that I'm going to latch on to. So there you have it. Thank you.